What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and this is the holiday edition. Obviously, conspicuous by his absence, no Eric Bischoff tonight. But what I do have is George Hermoza, Steve Kaufmann, and Christy Olson, and we'll be talking
Yay!
about all the things wrestling and the holiday stuff because that's the season we're in, right?
Yay! Yes, happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. I was gonna go like it feels right, like face cue on Chrissy and go.
So, Thanksgiving finally over. Thank goodness we can put up the tree.
Yes.
I'm already almost done with my holiday shopping, which isn't very me. I don't know where everybody else is at, but I'm actually just so excited to wrap the presents and put them under the tree, which has also been up for like a month. That I had to get my shopping done. So
Listen to you being all humble.
He literally muted. Okay.
We all know the real reason why Chrissy's excited. I mean, she's all being humble here. We all know the real reason why. It's not because of Christmas season. It's because of Christy season. Because don't even act like your birthday's not a couple weeks away.
I mean,
why?
Okay, it's coming up.
There you go.
Christmas, yes, the whole season is extra special for me. And also, this is a time of year when I've been able to really like manifest and like make cool things happen in my life too. So I'm just like, December is my month, guys. And I hope you all are having a beautiful one so far as well.
I was unsure if it was a typo or not, but this morning you texted me about how you set up your Christy tree. My living room is super set up for my Christy tree. And I wonder.
A Freudian slip, maybe, because I do sort of think that it all, revolves around the birthday.
No, all of us celebrate.
You guys don't call it a Christy tree?
Oh, Christy tree. Oh, Christy tree.
That actually works easier.
Yeah. There you go.
It's one less syllable.
I'm just surprised.
Mine's white.
I'm just surprised that she waited till December to put up a Christy tree.
Yeah.
Oh no! It was like mid-November-ish, maybe even a little
that
sooner.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But obviously, Micmac is in the house. Tyson Duckworth from Ketchikan Fight Club in the house. Way up in the northern regions of North America. But geez, yeah, it is cool. I don't know if they have Christy trees out there in Ketchikan, Alaska, but
they only do real Christy trees up in those parts.
I feel like there's some merch opportunity that needs to happen, Christy.
I never thought about that, but maybe as much as I'm just feeling the holiday spirit, especially this year, like maybe that's my new thing. Mariah Carey couldn't trademark the Queen of Christmas, but perhaps since I have the birthday and the whole thing, maybe legally I can make that happen. Yes. I'd rather be the princess. She can be the queen.
Okay, I like it. And apparently it's Micmac's birthday, so happy.
How many birthdays does Micmac have?
I counted
876,000.
I want to say it's the same exact number as Sam Bankman-Fried lost in people's accounts. No, too soon. Anywho, moving on.
Way too soon, Adam.
Yeah, I know.
Pros.
Crypto. I don't know. But William Regal, he got let out of his AEW contract, and this told by Tony Khan in the press conference leading up to Final Battle this weekend. And it's kind of crazy, right? Because do you guys know of any one talent being let go to basically flourish in another company so easily?
Yes.
Who would it be?
The Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, who doesn't want that comparison?
But that's that's a one-shot deal theoretically. If you're referencing him going into the Hall of Fame with the
no, George, you're talking about the WWF. He was a top guy in WCW and then had a contract negotiation, and he went to the WWF with the belt. He went to the WWF with the big gold belt because of a lot of reasons. And then they referred to him as the real world champion. That if we're talking about the biggest possible jump in the history, from company to company in the history of wrestling, that has to be it. I think if we're talking non-in-ring participant, this Regal business has to be up there.
It's funny. I wasn't even referring to that part. I mean, close. I was referring to when he left the WWF to go to WCW. If anything, because and this isn't speculation. This is everybody's told this story, and where Ric Flair and Vince had a deal where Ric Flair felt that he wasn't going to be used as a main eventer in the WWF, then Vince McMahon would have allowed him to get a release and go back to WCW. And that's exactly what happened in the January of 93.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Close,
Okay.
but yeah.
I mean, well, by that metric, he makes the list twice, which makes sense because he's Ric Flair.
Yeah.
That Ric Flair jumping from WCW to WWF in '92 makes the list,
And
then
Bret
Ric
Hart.
Flair.
But that's more of a money thing. That's more of like a we can't afford.
Well, yeah, I
this
mean,
deal.
wouldn't we really kind of want to draw our friend Eric more into these comparisons? Isn't this sort of like Eric showing up to be the GM at WWE after all that had happened between WCW and WWE? Isn't it sort of more like, the authority figure kind of went back and forth?
Like a manager, a non-playable character. I think to compare Regal in the grand scheme of pro wrestling, I think you're right. We would have to think of, if we're talking about in general, I think Eric moving from WCW to WWE, granted there was I think a 2-year gap, that would be up there. But I'm also trying to think, Rick Rude was on Nitro and Raw on the same night. Like, we're thinking of like being on TV and then jumping to another company on TV. But even then, it sounds super clear to me that William Regal will not be appearing on WWE television.
But Adam, it sounds like your question is more so like actually like just like friendly, cordially let out of your contract, as opposed to Rick Rude, who didn't really have a contract, Bret Hart, who was kind of forced to go to WCW because of money issues. Like, are you more referring to Adam? As far as like, oh yeah, Tony Khan, just let him go, and knowing that he's going to go back to WWE.
Yeah, I think that's it. And again, all of the scenarios they absolutely hold water here, but just uniquely, right? Because you know where he's going to go. There's no, in the Bischoff scenario.
Yeah, he ain't going to TNA.
Right, exactly. Sorry, TNA. But yeah, with the Bischoff scenario, WCW had been out of business for about 2 years, theoretically in that deal. Even when Heyman comes over, there was fledgling embers of ECW.
That Heyman jump was pretty sudden
To
the viewer, because not all, like, especially, maybe I'm just projecting what my age was at the time. I was, I think, 13, maybe 14. So one night I'm watching ECW on a Friday night, and then the next week it's just not on. And then a week after that, Paul Heyman is on Raw. Like, that was super sudden from my perspective. And if you read The Observer for 3 months heading into that, it's not that sudden. But it was super sudden at the time. Like, I would put that up there higher than Rick Rude appearing on 2 segments in one night across shows. Of how shocking that was.
There's always going to be that shock factor if someone is jumping companies, especially because that's been so rare in the past. But did we ever really associate William Regal with AEW? Has he been there long enough? Like Blackpool Combat Club, is anyone ever going to remember that in the grand scheme of William Regal, John Moxley, or Daniel Bryan, or anyone else involved's careers? When you hear William Regal, is it just me because I was there with my little microphone, like chasing him down to get him to make the matches? Or doesn't everyone think of William Regal as the GM of NXT, as the leader of NXT, like the guy at NXT? Is it just me?
No, I don't think it's you. I mean, and it also kind of is befitting of what juncture of William Regal's career, or Lord Steven Regal to some of us, because that, him and Steamboat in WCW, him and Austin, that is, him a part of the Blue Bloods with. I didn't even know Bobby Eaton was from Alabama. I thought he was, I knew like Robert Taylor
Full
and
Blue
even,
Blood.
Bill Dudley. Yeah, it was all weird, to kind of pull back the curtain of kayfabe. But also, like, another scenario would be like Taz. But even Taz, right? He basically wins the title from Mike Awesome, who was a contracted WCW talent. Awesome has the title. I think he jumps over to WCW with as the reigning ECW champion. They have to get the title off him. So Taz is the person put in place. Taz shows up. Taz beats Awesome
in a house show.
Right, at a house show in Poughkeepsie. Is that right?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
I knew I wasn't going to get the city right, so I didn't say.
There we go. But and then shows up to the subsequent SmackDown to face the then WWF champion Triple H.
I will get that city right because I was there. It was Philadelphia.
Oh, hey, there you go. Oh, that must be awesome. I definitely want to.
And to be fair, that did pretty big business for ECW at that time, even with Taz losing that night, because we were sold out. I think First Union was a bank then, and that's who owned it. Sold out First Union Centers, like 25,000 people. Taz is in the main event, losing to the top guy, Triple H, the world's champion. And then they made it very clear to 25,000 people. Saturday night, it's Tommy Dreamer versus Taz at the ECW arena that seats maybe 1,500. So, like, for what it's worth, they were guaranteeing a sellout the following week, the following Saturday, because they taped on Tuesday for, I think, a Thursday show. And then that Saturday, you could see Tommy Dreamer, Taz for the world title.
That's kind of, WWE booking at the time, right? Send a champion who's headlining a pay-per-view in a world title match off on the go-home show with a loss. Now, obviously, it's not ECW.
I should clarify that.
Yeah.
I think it was bad business. I think it was bad business in the grand scheme, because Taz heading into, I don't know, because he lost to Tommy Dreamer, and then Tommy Dreamer lost to Just Incredible. So, like, I thought it was okay business, because then you just have Taz a loser. But that's not how it felt at the time. I'm not going to defend him losing to Triple H in Philadelphia, regardless of how much schmozziness happened in the actual match. I am going to say it was good short-term business. We're going to guarantee a sellout, and we're going to guarantee that Taz is in a main event spot. Heading into that sellout, I do agree they missed the mark a little on how do you present him best. But the WWE, I'll say, didn't present Taz very well the majority of his time there. I think he was a ruthless killer in ECW, and they allowed that to happen for exactly like 3 nights in the WWE before they were like, I don't know, man, you're working with Hardcore Holly.
Yeah.
I mean, he dethroned Kurt Angle's undefeated streak. I felt like there should have been an opportunity to really let him have a groundswell, but I worry there, like, by some accounts, there were a lot of people who just didn't want to lose to him at that time. And
but how much of that what you're saying is just as a ECW diehard loyalist that wants to see all your precious ECW guys be main eventers in the WWE?
No, it's not that. I'm saying as I was more of a loyalist to Monday Night Raw at that time, because ECW was on at I think it was on at 11 p.m. on a Friday night. And then Monday Night Raw was on at 9 p.m. on a Monday night. 9 p.m. on a Monday night was a way more of a prime spot. So I was more of a loyalist to Monday Night Raw, and I just, narratively, the Taz character by week 3 didn't make any sense.
I think the biggest misconception, and I've heard this on like Rise and Fall of ECW and other ECW shoot videos that it's been on. They're saying like, oh, if you can make it in the ECW arena, you can make it anywhere. Bullshit. That is so not true. Like, if you can make it in WWE, you can make it anywhere. But if you can make it in like TNA or ECW or AEW, whatever, that doesn't mean shit in the grander scheme of WWE. So just because some of these guys were tip-top guys in ECW, and I'm not, and I say this as an ECW fan, I love me some ECW, but realistically, just because you're a top guy there doesn't mean you're going to be a top guy in WWE. And I think the biggest scenario for Taz was like, you go into the WWE and then you realize, like, it's the same way that a lot of these guys looked at like Marco Stunt, where it's like, yeah, you're great on the indies, but like, let's put you up against like a Kenny Omega. Like, that just doesn't look good on a poster.
But did Marco Stunt choke out?
Well, and to this day, Taz is bitter about it all.
Well, did Marco Stunt choke out Kenny Omega on his first night? Because that's what Taz did.
Yeah.
Taz choked out Kurt Angle, the undefeated Olympic gold medalist, the only Olympic gold medalist in professional wrestling, the man destined for absolute greatness.
Yeah,
he choked him out on his first night but that's what I mean. Like, I'm truly not trying to be an ECW loyalist when I say if he was gonna be clowned a bit more in the coming weeks, I would have preferred he just have a decent showing against Kurt Angle, and maybe there's a run-in by the person you're actually going to have him work with.
I think it's really easy to kind of get. It's like what everybody says, like, oh, I want to make it to the WWE. I want to be in the WWE, right? And then you get to the WWE, and it's kind of like a now what? It's just kind of like now the work's for real. Now it really starts. So I think it's easy to kind of have these guys, make a big good impression on day 1. But what about day 31? What about day 51? And in the case of Taz, yes, he was floundering just 2-3 months later. We also got hurt. He also wasn't able to do as much as he could because he was kind of, it was kind of the twilight of his career as well. So
I'm not going to deny that it was at the later part of his career. I also think a lot of that falls on. We landed here, and I feel strongly about this. I feel a lot of the problem is that the WWE got the shiny new thing from ECW, the number 3 wrestling company in the US at that time, and then had no interest in actually porting it into the WWE. Because I remember watching Royal Rumble, it was at Madison Square Garden. I remember watching that on TV, and I remember watching, once again, 11 o'clock on a Friday night, watching Taz and be like, my God, that guy will murder people. And part of the reason that is, yes, ECW ran smaller arenas, but they also shot Taz real low on a handheld coming out from the stage. They also had him come out first so that he didn't have to stand toe-to-toe with his opponent. Like they also worked around him a lot. And you watch him debut at Madison Square Garden, they cut to a wide shot, granted, because they wanted to see that New York crowd excited for him, but then you can hardly see him. Because of the way the Madison Square Garden stage is, there's no actual stage. So he's just standing among all the people, and it's just his presentation from the jump was a problem. I'm ranting about Taz, guys. What's happening?
I like Taz, so rant more.
I like Taz too, and I work like. Imagine, if you will, Taz, the guy who is about to choke out Kurt Angle. You have that countdown. You have the EKG sounds. And instead of the big wide shot that they used, it's more intimate. It's actually a handheld camera at the front of the stage. Dude with a towel over his face, just like looks like a mercenary. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how tall he is. Hello, Ebzon.
But you're still talking about day 1, though.
I'm talking about day 1 because if he's gonna choke out Kurt Angle,
I'm just saying it's easy to book it from day 1 because he's hot. He's got the momentum. He's like, he was right now he was like the Sasha Banks of back then, where it's like, oh my God, what is he gonna do? When is he gonna show up at WWE? It's like all this buzz was around him. So of course it's easy to book this guy day 1 as this killer monster. But what about like day 51, where it's like, oh well, now we're really seeing what we're getting. Well,
Hook is far past day 51.
Yeah.
He can't be that much bigger than Taz. And look how much better that's going.
Yeah.
Because they know what they have. They know what they have with Hook. And like, I'm not saying you should present him differently on day 1 just cause. I'm saying whoever wanted Taz and whoever told Vince to hire Taz was unable to convince Vince, okay, here's how Taz needs to be presented. Here's how he needs to be booked on day 1. Here's how he needs to be booked on day 50. And to bring it into a broader point, up until NXT and up until NXT very recently, WWE has always had this problem of getting a shiny toy from another product, whether it's their product or another product, and then struggling to port what made them great on that product into their product. Like, the most NXT success stories I can point to are people where they made a drastic change from who they were in NXT to fit the mainstream, like, WWE audience. And this,
right,
and we're
part
talking
of that
about
problem was that they had to go through the PC before they would put them on TV on the main roster,
and that the PC didn't have up until this reboot, which was that this year? That can't be this year. No, the reboot was last fall. Up until that, the colorful reboot that they did last fall, there didn't seem to be a straight pipeline to the characters that were presented on NXT, and then the characters that wound up on Raw or SmackDown. Mm-hmm. That there was always some type of change, possibly a complete overhaul, and like they always had this problem up until recently, and I think that's why a lot of people didn't love the NXT multicolor over a year ago, But like what I liked about it was I saw Braun Breaker on that show, and I knew the Braun Breaker I'm watching on NXT Multicolor, that's going to be the Braun Breaker I'm going to follow all the way up through SmackDown, all the way up through his Royal Rumble win in 2025. Whereas in the NXT Black and Gold brand, as they call it, NXT Classic, you would have incredible stories with incredible performers and incredible acts. The second they show up on Raw, you're like, oh man, that's doomed. Mm-hmm. Like they don't understand. They don't understand who the
Breeze. Yes.
Oh God, we all had our own.
There's
we all
so
had our
many.
own examples
It's
so
sad.
quick.
Yeah. Maurice Warlow says, "Get well, Barry Windham." Yes, that's it. Hi, Maurice. And my goodness, yeah, just sending positive vibes to the Windham Rotunda family. Wait, Windham. That's it.
The Barry Windham family.
The Barry Windham family. Right? Would that also extend to the Blackjack Mulligan family?
Yes, that is his father.
Okay, there you go. But get well, Barry, 100%. And Ibsam wants to know, where's Eric? How's he doing? He's doing great. There's a lot of promotional stuff for Grateful as well as. Yeah, there you go. And George is going to find out for you in real time. So there you go. So yeah, man. I mean.
Oh shit! He answered. Oh hey, what's up, dude?
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so I mean, not to take off the Taz stuff, but I mean,
please, I would just spin it. I would spin it in circles all night.
Taz has now been talked about live on the air more this week from our show than any other week in history.
And it's worked out for Hook because he's clearly getting protected very well, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad.
Yeah, that's what Hook needs.
Yes.
I'm not a mom, but ask any dad if he would go through all that so that his son could have better. I think you'd probably say.
Although it's funny, I do have like a backstage story at the hotel at AEW, and again, this is all I could be very, very, very wrong, but this is just what I saw, and I'm gonna assume because that's what I do in a bad way. So Taz was sitting there eating alongside. I want to say he was eating with QT Marshall, just chilling there, just hanging out, just eating, doing his thing, eating his meal. And then like he looks up and Hook walks by, just walking by through the hotel. Taz just looks at him. He just goes like, I don't know. Just like I saw him like just shake his head like in like disappointment. Like, did he do something? Like, is he mad because like he didn't say hello? Again, there's probably nothing to this story, but maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there's more to the story. I just thought it was interesting that Taz looked at his son and just like.
I think that's probably a cutesy freaking thing they do to each other when they're out in public. Like, this guy. Yeah, don't you think?
I mean, it's only. I mean, we all seen that strip club video at Hook.
Which one?
You haven't seen it? You guys have seen it. I think it was like Antonio Brown on his Instagram. Then like he like pans to like somewhere, and you see Hook literally making it rain while getting like.
Club?
I'm surprised.
Little boy with the pictures in his little blazer from his private school back in the day.
Steve looks like he's looking it up right now, and I'm surprised that you guys have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I didn't know, and there's been so much. I mean, just this year in terms of wrestling news,
Steve found it.
Good for him. I don't know what the problem.
No, I mean, it just good video. Right? It was Antonio Brown, right?
Yes, you're not supposed to record videos in a strip club, guys. That's terrible form.
Yeah.
And that's not even for the other dudes. That's for the actual workers at the strip club. That's how they make their money. Paywalling those goods is how they make their money. Be better. Was it Antonio Brown's video, or was it somebody with Antonio Brown?
I think it was Antonio Brown's Instagram.
I'm looking at it.
Uh-oh.
No,
well, I mean,
Christy's on the case now.
Oh no, I think that's someone else.
Well, I mean,
that was Hook.
This, I mean, in terms of that whole theory about the whole strip club etiquette.
Christy's still looking.
Oh yeah, no, that is him. This is just the stripper booty in the face. This isn't him.
Yeah, he's all.
Making it
rain. Yeah, but he's literally, Wow. This is how his hands were.
See, that's why I don't go to those places, because I don't want to see people behaving in that manner, and I am now disappointed in Hook. I'm going to try to keep that image from his little private school year photo with the blazer and the hair and the whole. I'm gonna keep that at the front of my mind for Hook.
Okay.
Do you think he's an attractive kid or guy or whatever? I don't know how old he is.
He's so young and he looks so young. I'm sure he does very well, as you can see. But he's a little young looking for me.
Everybody's got that TikToker hair, you know?
Well, he probably kind of started it, right?
I thought it was something about Mary. There's, you know, the.
I had to Google it.
That's not the same hair.
I had to Google it because I was gonna.
It's like that white boy TikToker hair.
I had to Google it because I was gonna call out Christy for living in a city with the most per capita strip clubs, and that's not even the city, Portland.
What?
Portland has.
I would have thought Georgia.
No. Portland has one strip club per 11,286 residents.
See, and when I used to go there and work every weekend for indie promotions, none of the guys were going out to the strip club the night before the show.
Thank God you said indie promotions. You're like, when I used to go there and work at the indie promotions, I'm like, oh.
Guys, what do we think number 2 is? Because we're all going to get it wrong.
Wait, number 2 of strip clubs.
I think Atlanta's going to be a surprise.
Yeah,
I think
there are a lot of people in Atlanta, though. There are a lot of people in New York.
Oh.
Tampa.
It's like
so you're just going up. You're just going up population.
Tampa, the trashiest freaking city.
Tampa, yeah, you're going by Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Tampa, Florida has 352,000 residents, 28 strip clubs. That's 7.932 strip clubs per 100,000 people.
Wow,
it's a fun list.
How's the education? In
Central Florida.
Yeah,
I didn't have a minute to pull up all the stats.
Okay, right on. Nice to meet you, Steve. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
I grew it myself.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. No, going back to the Regal deal, right? And I think the you know what we were talking about, like Taz and Hook, it all kind of relates because here we see a scenario where Hook and Taz are in the same brand, same wrestling promotion, what have you, and then Regal, who was of that same wrestling promotion, wants to go work with his son. I hope I'm not breaking kayfabe, but
Tony Khan broke kayfabe.
Okay.
Without saying, he said William Regal wants to go to another wrestling promotion where he has an opportunity to train his own son. Is what Tony Khan said yesterday. So, if that's breaking kayfabe, Tony Khan broke kayfabe. He never said the WWE, but then he made it even more obvious when he said he was super frustrated about Triple H posting that compilation, the War Games compilation. He was like, that didn't feel in the spirit of our agreement, is what he said.
Baby.
Oh, he's such a whiner. Oh, how do you even run a business when you're that butthurt all the time?
Delegation.
I feel bad for him. I want him. He has so much, and he could have focused so elsewhere. It's sad for him that he spends so much time being insulted.
Oh, this is where I'm going to go, like guttural content. We were just talking about strip clubs, but you say, Christy, where do you work inside a business where you're not butthurt all the time? There you go. You can make out what you want of it. Anywho. But yeah, I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars stuff, the Fulham FC stuff, you know, the fact that Tony Khan can be the way that he is, you know, I don't know how he performed prior to AEW in these roles, you know, having multi-million-dollar contracts and a lot of egos, you know, even more so than wrestling, perceivably, right?
I think it's a different like your heart's in it differently. I think correct me if I'm wrong, he works for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He works for the other football team. He owns AEW, right? Is that the biggest difference between him and
I think he owns
Fulham.
I think he owns Fulham.
I think his dad owns it.
Yeah.
I think the same way Vince owned WWE and Stephanie worked there, you know? But
I mean, either way, all the fodder by fans online indicate that he is not well liked, and that they find it very easy to sort of come for him, right, and make him the clown of their little fan jokes online and such. There's a lot of that.
But isn't he them?
He is So his father is the owner. Tony Khan is the vice chairman and director of football operations. He also holds the roles of general manager and sporting director.
Yes, so he works for them. He doesn't own them. Semantics, don't get me wrong, semantics, but he owns
either way, he's
AEW.
not getting any respect.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he's not getting respect from the general public. The question is, does he want that? I would.
I think it's very clear that Tony Khan feels he needs to be respected by everybody.
Yeah, I think There's nothing wrong with somebody who wants to be liked, but he seems like somebody that really wants to be liked.
I mean, doesn't everybody want to be liked?
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. We all want to be liked.
To play devil's advocate a little, he feels like somebody who works an insane amount to make something he thinks everybody will like. And then his immediate reaction is to be really insulted when people don't like it, or people don't like something he said, or people like he gets defensive. His immediate thought is to be defensive, is what I would gather. I'm not him.
But also, like, who does he want the liking to come from? Because, the ratings, and I hate to say that because it's, kind of a buzzword in these kind of realms, but, you're kind of catering to the smallest bit of population, the PWG or tape creators and what have you. How you could promote a match of like Konosuke Takeshita, who isn't a big name, against your, former world champion, with no build and whatever, and expect people just to get it, And like, if we say, hey, we want a storyline behind it, it was like, oh, you AEW basher or what have you.
I have come to the conclusion, and this is going to be very wrong, but whatever. I don't think he wants the company to grow. And I think he's okay with just being, you know what? We're just going to present wrestling. That's it. That's it.
And do you think that hesitation for growth comes from fear? Like that he won't know how to run it if it's huge? He has continually put himself in charge. He's given himself the top job in every fucking excuse me, sorry, that's
no.
In every department.
You, Christy, my goodness.
My God, that's got to be the social media clip.
Yeah, I know, right?
Christy getting into it and just saying fuck and then be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I
displayed a real emotion with a word that conveys that emotion. God,
my bad.
What other explanation can there be, though? Like, there's no consistency when it comes to the main eventers. There's no consistency when it comes to pushing some of these guys that needs to be pushed and consistently pushed. Like, what else can it be? Like, and I get it. Like,
he just doesn't know what he's doing, George.
No, I'm with you.
He's never produced a TV show. He's never booked a wrestling show. He's never ran an entire company. He's never owned a company of that caliber before, even if it is all in the family. He has no experience. And he has done himself and everyone else such a disservice by putting himself in charge of everything that if it would grow, he wouldn't know what to do, right? And things could go very wrong. If the stakes were higher, he could fail worse. I see what you're saying.
I think a big part of it is, you look at every major promoter, coming up. Like you even look at like a Paul Heyman. Before ECW, before WCW, he was a freaking photographer for the WWF and like the early 80s. Same with Jim Cornette. You look at Eric Bischoff, like the guy came up through the AWA, like, and it's. I'm not gonna sit there. Oh man, a poor Tony Khan. He's got the money to hire whoever the hell he wants. But like, yeah, like what Christy was saying, it's like, how are you just gonna come up and just try to run the place with like no experience? And like, yes, you grew up watching it, but you didn't grow up being in it,
So if you're a billionaire who manages billion-dollar assets, your metric for what something is and isn't a success would be based on very private analytics. Meaning what we're all discussing is not the metric. What we think are harbingers of success, like a TV rating, that's not actually a metric of success that I think he's looking at too closely. When it comes to the muted me for okay. What did I say? My God. It was like, I'm
touch that space bar.
Defending the Khan family. not a lot. But I'd like to play devil's advocate a little, that we're all the ratings, the consistent booking, the this, the that, the this, the that. At the end of the day, do we think AEW won't exist in 3 years?
I think they will.
I do think that.
I can 100% guarantee you AEW will exist for the next 5, if not 10 years. Because Maurice Barlow in the chat mentioned that this is TNA. And what I want to point out is TNA eventually had to pay a piper, if you will, because Panda Energy eventually wanted a return on investment AEW, as far as I can tell, I have no internal information. They have a 10-year plan that whoever forked up the money, which is the Khan family, so long as he's sticking to that 10-year plan, he doesn't actually have to be profitable for any amount of time. And the metrics that he's growing for growth are: how many Twitter subscribers do you have? How many YouTube views do you have? What's your rights fee? What's your international rights fee? What's your merch? What's your merch like? What is your EBITDA? Which is, we all, as Eric Bischoff followers know, is a really long acronym I don't want to get into. But like, there are a lot of terms like EBITDA that we don't know because we have not run massive properties that he is well aware of. That it's a matter of, like, even someone like CM Punk's contract needing a buyout, that if I had to guess, I'd say his contract was worth $8 to $10 million, and then the buyout is in the area of $5 to $6 million, I'm guessing.
Wow.
To us, that's massive amounts of money. To him, he's running, in his mind, he thinks AEW is a thing that's going to be valued at billions of dollars in the next 10 years. That CM Punk, as big of a story it is to us this year, is literally financially a speed bump in the grand scheme of AEW. But come at AEW from that perspective and tell me you think you really care how Jade Cargill is
business
presented.
person? Yeah, but what good business person is going to let there be loss year after year after year after year for 10 years just because that was the 10-year plan?
Netflix?
Oh, we gave Tony 10 years. But if the networks
also
aren't going to play, and the thing is, the reason why I believe that AEW will go away in less than 5 years is because I think they're going to be moved to streaming sooner than later. And then no one's going to care. They're going to get lost in the shuffle hard there. And Tony's going to lose interest.
Do we want to make a wager?
I feel
It's December
I don't think they're going anywhere.
2022.
Right.
You're telling me that by December 2027, AEW as we understand it now, meaning a nationally broadcasted television show that we all talk about, isn't going to exist by December of 2027?
Yes, I would even put it sooner than that. And
really? Oh, wow.
It's unfortunate. Yeah. I don't love that for the fans or for the performers or for Tony himself or for anybody. It sucks. And also, I say that with knowing that what he has accomplished, what everyone who was involved at the beginning has accomplished by just giving WWE some kind of conversation about competition is huge. You know, not to knock what they have accomplished, but I think it's topped out.
I think they're a very glass half full kind of company. I don't think they're going anywhere, but it's like, oh, 800,000. Oh, that's better than 700,000. You know, like I just feel like they're very like, oh yeah, it's good enough. You know, as opposed to like you look at WWE. I mean, how many things are they just growing on a weekly basis? Like you got the Netflix movies and all these WWE films and books coming out, action figures,
more reality shows.
Yes, I know AEW's got action figures too. But yes, they got the Bianca and the Montez thing coming up on Hulu. Like there's all these avenues. Like I remember like. I think a lot of people miss this part is like, 5 or a couple years ago, WWE was on USA, Fox, Fox Sports 1, sometimes they'll be on Sci-Fi. They're on A&E. Like that's
in addition to having their own streaming network.
Yeah, and it's like WWE isn't just about putting out pro wrestling every week. It's like, dude, let's put out additional content. Like they're always trying to find new ways to grow, and I don't see that with AEW, and I want to see that with AEW. Yes, they had a road to the top, but where are they now? You know what I mean? Like, cool. You got to be able to move on to the next step. Like, cool. Let's get something else that can be reality show-ish.
I believe they are filming right now. They are filming what will be more of an ensemble style behind-the-scenes show. I'm expecting it to be very Total Divas, maybe skewing a little more male, maybe a little more being the elite. But I do think that show is coming, and that will bode very well for them.
I mean, it's something, and that's just what I want. I want to see something. I want to see something that tells me, like, man, we are not just settling with whatever it is that we have. Clearly, he has money because they keep signing all these people. So clearly, he's got money to spare. So I don't think they're losing money, but I do think he's going at a perspective of, good enough.
Yeah, and Ibsan says George WWF is on Univision in
Super Extras.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that.
Univision became Telemundo, right? Or at least they merged.
Two different things.
Oh,
yeah. and AEW will be gone in 2 years. And Nicholas says, just kind of housekeeping, my channel and these compatriots of mine who are so gracious. Unfortunately, Eric is not with us. It's the holidays, and he
Eric
has a
who?
new Eric Bischoff, maybe
Yeah,
Hall of Famer, WWE Hall of
whatever.
Famer.
He's
But
not
he
here.
has a new book who he was promoting vigorously across all the channels last week, and then it is the holidays. So since he's not here, we decided to kind of gather around and talk the wrestle stuff. Yeah,
All the Russell stuff.
yeah, absolutely. So just my take, right? And I kind of want to touch on it because it was public knowledge, but Tony Khan did address a health matter that befell of his mom. During this press conference that happened where he addressed the Regal stuff and potentially a Ring of Honor, what Ring of Honor will look like, sans being featured on AEW Dynamite and Rampage respectively, right? But that him having a family matter happened when he's the major domo of this wrestling promotion with all of these top names and everything like that get shuffled about and what have you, upcoming stars and established talent that are household names in some circles, right? uh, he didn't have anybody to fall back on, right? He didn't say, hey, here's the book. Anybody in the locker room, Jeff Jarrett, Arn Anderson, Regal at the time, who was still there. He didn't make the call yet, until I guess he's sitting on a park bench outside of the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, right? From what I understand.
Sad.
But yeah, it's all sad. But this is evident that there's no succession plan. This is Tony Khan's deal, and I'm not too familiar with how the Khan family made their money, but it wasn't solely off of Fulham FC and Jacksonville Jaguars. These were
those are purchased assets. The Khan family. I have to Google it because I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
I want to say they are oil men, aren't? Or he's an oil man.
My
name is Shao Kahn, and I am an oil
Skinner?
man.
Like Skinner, or no?
Shahid
Khan, Gator man.
Shahid Khan is an engineer by trade, and then he bought an auto parts supplier in 1980. And then his design for a one-piece truck bumper was the basis for his success. His company now has 69 plants, over 26,000 employees. 2012, he bought the Jacksonville Jaguars. 2013, he bought the Fulham Football Club. And then in 2019, his son launched AEW Wrestling. And then he's what did I say?
I'm messing with you.
Okay. Sorry.
Like, really? Tony Khan owns AEW?
And then he's a major financial backer of the Black News Channel, a 24-hour cable news channel, which launched February 2020.
Never heard of it.
Wow.
I've heard of Black Hollywood Live.
I've heard of BET.
So it's like a BET, but CNN. It's like BET and CNN merged. Is I guess the asset, and it launched February 2020. So I wonder. So whatever their production strategy was, I'm sure it had to pivot in a month.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a frame of what they do, but
Right.
I know unless their expectation was no one's showing up to the office, they had to change.
No, 100%. I mean, I kind of in my head, like Big Swole and Jonathan Grisham are airing their grievances toward AEW on this said channel. That's what happened in my head. Anywho, no, but
Team Big Swole.
Yeah. Who's made a career out of bashing AEW than actually improving on her craft. That's my opinion, but yeah, well. Nicholas Wake says, you know what AEW needs? Hulkamania, brother.
Well, according to Tony Khan, Hulk Hogan is specifically banned.
Yeah. I mean, I think he would fit in well with the elk of AEW, but that's another story for another day. Unfortunately, AEW wrestlers look old and washed up. Indie dudes. AEW should be destroying WWE. AEW needs to push Keith Lee. I mean, you could literally throw a dart, on the wall and, in the AEW locker room, hopefully not injuring anybody, but, the people that AEW needs to push. When you think about AEW's mission statement, they were going to promote their version of wrestling. They're going to promote new talent, and then WWE starts releasing everybody, and all of that, the mission statement that AEW was purported to be, that got us all excited about the product, wanting to attend the first Vegas show, and when being on the Elite, when a lot of us were still watching that show, and we saw that AEW, logo, that was the first appearance on it on everybody's cell phones walking outside of I think it was the Tokyo Dome. That's what we forgot, like what AEW was supposed to be, what they told us it was supposed to be, how crummy the WWE presentation, had been in terms of catering. I don't want to say catering to a specific fan base, but they weren't lighting the world on fire in terms of the expectations of what we wanted of them as a wrestling product. Now, there were some people, almost like AEW now, right? They cater to a specific, demographic of people that still tune in habitually to Monday Night Raw.
I would say success is about how you want to fail. And I would argue a year ago for sure, if AEW put out something that wasn't great, it's because they were trying to please us. Whereas if the WWE were putting out something that wasn't great, it's because everybody was trying to please Vince. And I do think that when we're talking about what the WWE product was and what it's transitioning away from currently, we need to remember that everybody was playing to an audience of one. Mm-hmm. And what I find hysterical about hearing that constantly is you look at all the times the WWE was red hot, it's when nobody was playing to that audience of one. And that when something fell in his lap and he just didn't touch it. Like Austin 316, The Rock, Triple H, like when the business, or John Cena to a certain extent, when the business was its absolute hottest, it's when his hands were the most off.
DX.
Yeah.
And like that, I just find that kind of fascinating. But I do want to point out that AEW comes out with the best intentions every week. They don't like, how do we put on a crappy show with a bunch of former WWF people? Like, that's not the creative meeting in AEW every week.
Yeah. No, 100%.
AEW, and by the way, AEW should use the Nature Boy. I think similar to how you had William Regal be a welcome addition to the show without getting super involved every week. I think Ric Flair, and it's not just because I work with him, I think Ric Flair would be an excellent presence on that television show, especially when you have him super motivated, like, let's say, work with his son-in-law.
Would he be that motivated to work with his son-in-law?
To work with Andrade,
that
absolutely.
That was what Rick wanted when he thought he was going to AEW some time ago, right? Hasn't he said that he was going as Andrade's manager?
I don't know.
That hot tea has been spilled.
I don't know if he ever actually said that publicly, but I think we all kind of I think we all kind of figured that if he was gonna go, that would be the role he was slotted for.
Well, there was nothing. I mean, that was the kind of the road that I was leading to until the Dark Side episode came out.
Right. Well, and also Rick was doing that for Andrade in Mexico.
Yes,
wasn't he? Right. Didn't he work with him at a couple?
At Triple Mania.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that was official. I mean, what happened was Rick just happened to be in the back, and this is Conan's account. But Rick was in the back and whatever, and like, hey, you want to use him and whatever, and then whatever prize that was thrown out, he appeared at Triple Mania, which is their Triple A's version of WrestleMania. That's the story that I know. I don't know.
Wow. Well, I mean, I think that shows an even greater willingness for Rick that he wants to, stunt for Andrade.
Yeah. But I don't want to be, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but like to a promotion that has a lot of talent, a lot of talkers, and I'm not trying to diminish Ric Flair's, involvement of 40 years of wrestling and 16 world titles, and his daughter, who's a generational talent and everything, and what his son Reed could have been, what David was in WCW. I'm not taking it away from any of that, but like right now, AEW's problem is not to sign more talent. They have a lot of talent. It's just who they're listening to versus who they're not listening to. Again, you look at the names from day one and to today, the names of past, present, and future that have been involved in AEW to some sort or fashion, it is the who's who of the wrestling sphere, and it still doesn't work, hiring Bob Caudle, or whatever. It's not. There's something wrong with AEW.
For the record, Bob Caudle is one of the few people in the wrestling world that is not signable.
Okay, there you go.
And for another record, Andrade needs to absolutely go back to WWE. But he could certainly use Rick at AEW if he has to stay there.
Yeah.
He should be the next. He should be the next Mercy sign.
Mercy signing. I love Ric Flair. Great. No, 100%. I mean, who doesn't love Ric Flair? Speaking of Flair, I heard he's upset with Eric. Is that true or not?
I heard that too through these very headphones.
More and more of this trickling out, right? Even today,
while
Rick
producing the podcast. I can only talk about what he said publicly. I think if you were to have found him on the street a month ago, and asked him about Eric Bischoff, he's like, "Oh, Eric Bischoff's kind of cool." And I think because they're making this documentary with his input, so he's seeing a lot of the story of his career kind of being retold. He's having different feelings, or he's revisiting the same feelings about Eric Bischoff, is my guess, as someone who's just working with Rick, that's where his head's at, where he sees, yes. The documentary is going to be out the day after Christmas, and we're going to see all of what he's alluding to, right or wrong, about how Eric treated him and in WCW. And it's always been his go-to to say that, I remember we asked him about North Korea a while ago, and he said, my God, I should have been a millionaire just on that North Korean tour, and I wasn't. And what it was is that in his head, Eric screwed him on the VHS tape. And I was producing the show, so it wasn't my place to mention. I don't know if that VHS tape sold a lot, but I'm sure they paid you $0. I'm sure they paid you $0 on when it did sell, but I wouldn't be shocked if that VHS tape didn't sell a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah. Nicholas.
I just want to say something really quick to defend Tony Khan and everything that I said about him previously that was negative. He is not the only petty Betty in this business. Okay, when you have someone of Ric Flair's caliber who's still, expressing a little butthurtness about something that happened 30 years ago, I go, oh, okay, that's why Tony Khan thinks it's cool to act like that. Because, even the Ric Flairs of the world can be a little petty and, whip their ego out and twirl it around every once in a while too.
Yeah, I mean,
no comment.
I'm a Bret Hart fan.
You painted quite the picture, Christy.
Yeah, I know. And I was going to mention Bret Hart. He had colon cancer, and how you detect that is what Christy described. But yeah, well, okay, yeah. But
deep end, sir. That's where we are.
I know. Just take it one step further than anyone is willing to go. But yeah, but again, another Ric Flair documentary, what are we going to learn that the 3-disc, DVD set of his Ultimate matches that the WWE produced, the one about his actual biopic career, the 30 for 30, give me more Nick Bockwinkel, goddamn. Please. Come on.
You ain't going to see it.
I know. That's the thing. And I feel like I'm kind of we're the last of the generation that might even know a Nick Bockwinkel or some of the luminaries of the AWA, and some of our favorite stars of our youth were actually AWA stars first. So I just hate that lineage of pro wrestling is getting befuddled by, I don't know, fucking indie taker moves and 80 super kicks and shit. So, but that's just me being funny.
Well, I wonder how it would do if AEW would do a biography, one of the ones where they kind of do a compilation and cover a few people, and they just did, AWA stars or, Nick Bockwinkel and friends. I wonder how something like that would really rate. You guys are getting excited about it, and those are certainly names that we hear come up in the conversation a lot with people like Eric Bischoff, those who are in even another generation beyond us. So I wonder how that would do.
And again, too, it might sound that this has been kind of a hit piece on Tony Khan, which I don't think it's not. I am super excited as a
He's
fan.
fine.
Yeah, I'm super excited as a fan, right?
Is he though?
Yeah, but I mean, we have Vicky Guerrero, who's had her own career, but lest we forget, she's the widow of the late great Eddie Guerrero. We have Brian Pillman signed to the roster, who again, the son of the late great Brian Pillman Sr. Right? We have Owen Hart being featured in a wrestling space that has produced an Owen Hart, Memorial Tournament with arguably one of the best title designs that I've ever seen. Maybe I'm biased because I'm a Hart fan, but that's that. An Owen Hart figure and an inclusion of Owen Hart in a forthcoming video game. So, like, look at that. These fences that were kind of torn for various reasons or what have you, they all kind of come into fold with AEW. Sting, right? We thought his career was done after the Buckle Bomb and the Hall of Fame induction in the WWE. And he's back. And we're excited about Sting again in 2022. Mm-hmm. And as a Sting fan, like outside of Bret Hart, he's probably my favorite wrestler. But also, they have the same moves. So maybe I need to grow my wrestling taste a little bit. But yeah, well.
Yeah. I think it's cool to see Sting in 2022, but can he lose a freaking match at some point? Like seriously, it's like you watch a Sting match now, it's like it's how it's gonna end. Like Darby Allin's gonna do something weird, Sting's gonna fall off a thing onto a table, and then they're gonna win. Like, and I get it, but like, dude, give me something new when it comes to Sting.
Oh, they're not the first baby faces to have a winning streak.
Yeah.
Come on, G.
Yeah. Well, and you're forgetting the Sting high spot. I'm curious that if Sting did all the high spots that we're seeing on Twitter, all the times he goes out into the ring, but then he loses, would any of us care? I genuinely were.
We'd be pissed off, I think.
Well, he lost every time, but like if Sting had a 50-50 win-loss record right now, but he did all the spots that we see, and we get to see Sting, I don't actually think anybody would mind.
Yeah, I'm with Nicholas Blake on this one. Sting is awesome. No, 100%. He was given Muda with a...
not.
Yeah, and AEW has Page. Which Page? Adam Page, Ethan Page?
He spelled it with an I.
Okay. Right when he became the Crow Sting, that was the best. I prefer Surfer Sting. I like it with all the colors. It was Ultimate Warrior. I wasn't a Warrior fan, so I got my Warrior kind of
like your little fix.
Yeah, 100%. So there's that. No, I mean, shit, man. Like, and the report, right? I mean, allegedly, supposedly, I think EC3 alluded to it, and I don't know if this is live or Memorex, but he alluded that Regal's leaving because nobody will listen, right? And just to kind of throw that out there, kind of brainstorm, right? Where you have, somebody like a William Regal that has a track record of producing so many good talent, coaching talent, recruiting talent. He's, what is it, Gerald Briscoe of a different ilk, right? Recruiting and coaching and mentoring and everything, show up to TVs, with his gear and whatever, and help people out with their moves and, how they take it. And like, you've got that, right? And then you've got a former world champion in AEW, Hangman Adam Page, that says, I don't listen to really anyone. And of course, I'm paraphrasing from what Adam Page said, and I do that because I try to forget the fucking ludicrousy of a mentality like that, right? And you can kind of see if this EC3 thing is to be true, why Regal, just beyond him wanting to work with his son over in the WWE, there could be something to that too. And that would be me just kind of, reading tea leaves or whatever, but I don't know. It kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I hope that there's been so much made of Adam Page, of those comments. I hope that it was one of many examples of someone trying to say some heel shit and it just kind of coming back to bite him in the ass. Can he be that stupid? to believe something like that and to say something like that? And can someone get to where they've been, where the amount of success that Adam Page has even had without listening to others? I mean, I think that is so silly in general, but what you're saying, that it could be kind of indicative of an entire backstage attitude and mentality of like, well, if Page doesn't have to listen, like, why do I have to either? It's just Kevin Sullivan. It's just Arn Anderson. You know what I mean? I see what you're saying, that it could be problematic, but damn, I really hope.
Yeah, I'm hoping
intended
that
due to
there's
Adam
some kind
Page.
of misinterpretation of what he said. We all know, we've all done it. We've all been on the receiving end and the the non-receiving end of like people misinterpreting something that we said, or we misinterpret something that somebody else said. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and think that he actually is able to take advice. I've heard other people would not be. If anything, from all accounts I've heard, that there are other people that are not named Adam Page that are more guilty of that kind of behavior. Certain 80 million years old dinosaurs that, from what I hear, are public enemy number one when it comes to not listening to people. But yeah, again, and also at the same time, to be fair, to play Steve Devil's advocate, you have somebody like an Adam Page who, for the most part, is a main eventer. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy for not listening to the veterans, but you also have some of these guys of the yesteryears, right, where they've said the same exact thing, but yet they're like, yeah, you're a rebel, yeah, you go Steve Austin, you go CM Punk. So I think a lot of it is like, obviously wrestling is all about playing favorites, and because Adam Page is today's public enemy number one, oh boo, you don't listen to veterans. But then again, years ago, oh yeah, that guy's a rebel. Like, come on, guys. Like,
I think
it's really a lot of just,
saying.
you know what I mean?
I think there's two different things that got conflated. There's, are you not listening, or are you not following the note verbatim? Because if you're Adam Page, you're an independent contractor, which means you're a plumber. And that means, I don't care if you're the Jesus of plumbers. I know I should have said carpenter. That would have made this work better. But I'm gonna run it back. If you're Adam Page, you're an independent contractor. That means you're a carpenter. So I don't care if it's your dad who is also a carpenter, or Jesus, presumably one of the first and best carpenters. You should respect that they did this before you and listen to them. But that does not mean you need to do everything that they tell you. And I think something's getting lost between if the ghost of Harley Race showed up and told Adam Page what to do, I think Adam Page would be right to be like, hey, I'm going to take your note and inflect that back out to who I am and what my character is and what I've been doing my whole career, and then let some of that soothe into my work versus, I don't know, man, the ghost of Harley Race told me to do exactly this. Regardless of the fact that maybe that wouldn't get over in a 2022 audience.
And also, like, I mean, I think the point that I was trying to get at too, where it's like Adam Page is kind of like, former world champion, former AEW world champion. I think for somebody like him to not, let's just say rumors are all true, for somebody like him to not listen to advice, I think it's okay. But there are a lot of other people in AEW, that, probably don't even make it to Dynamite or Rampage, that I'm sure are guilty of that too. So that's when I think is a bigger problem for AEW than someone like an Adam Page, or the stories that were going around about Adam Page, which I think were completely unfair.
If you're 3 years into the business and Arn Anderson tells you to do something, you should do that once. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You should do that once and see if the crowd reacts differently. But if you're 10 years into the business, and Arn Anderson tells you to act taller, you might need to figure out what that means. And it might not mean wear stilts in your shoes.
Yeah.
Even if that was Arn Anderson's follow-up. And I'm making up an example. Please don't scoop this. I'm making up a complete example, but like, imagine if, like, I don't know, man, I think you need to act taller. Like, I don't know, maybe even get stilts in your shoes. That doesn't mean put stilts in your shoes. That means your stature was somehow a problem to one viewer whose opinion you value. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I have a film degree, which is an art degree, one of the best things you can learn is how to take a note. And it isn't always do exactly what the note giver tells you. A lot of it is try to figure out where they're coming from with that note. And sometimes, they still think it's 1987. Fuck that note.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and not taking notes, just like other things that sound cool at AEW. We don't script our promos. We don't have agents for all of our matches. It's more stuff that sounds cool. We don't have to listen to the old guys, right? It's more stuff that sounds like you're saying, like rebellion, like cool. Current wrestling fans want to tune into that because they're cool and they're too cool to listen to the old guys. It's another thing that is not like WWE that isn't bringing them success. Right? You get told to do something by Arn Anderson or Harley Race. I know Harley Race is gone. But, anybody who's talking to Adam Page backstage at WWE, you better do it just because you were told. It doesn't matter what you think of that note. It doesn't matter if you're the kind of person who wants to take advice from people. You're doing what that person tells you to do. And I believe that's just another thing that's working better over there than it is over here, where we have to be cool and pretend like we have a cool guy attitude.
If anything, I'd say it works. If anything, I'd say, and AEW and WWE have a lot of polarizing problems. If anything, I think the opposite is true in the WWE. If Shawn Michaels tells you to do something, and you're in NXT, you just go out there and do it. And I'd say a third to half of all creative ideas die a death. So that's not Shawn Michaels' fault, but you're the one on TV. And I think there's the exact opposite problem, that a lot of the performers there don't get enough ownership over who they are and what they do. But a lot of them are also not literally 19 years old. They might not have the mind for what a character is.
Well, I think whether they're 19 or whether they've been there for 20 years, they know better than to say something like that publicly, that I don't listen to advice from others.
Yeah.
Well, I think there is that, and an example should be, they told me to try something like this, and I did, and I got a worse reaction, so I stopped. I would argue that's listening. But,
Yeah, okay, so, my problem is with the guy, right? Adam Page, right? Because he's so kind of uniquely connected to the EVPs, right? He was one of the guys in the Being the Elite, deal when, they're EVPs, right? Cody, the Bucks, and Omega, right? But also on his phone, on the end of that one particular Being the Elite episode, AEW logo pops up on his screen, and he's the only non-EVP, right? So the thing about him, yes, he's a former AEW World Champion, but we got Jericho. We've got who beat Jericho? Was it Page? Or was it Moxley? But
to
Page,
win the AEW World Championship?
Yeah, but theoretically, Page, Moxley, Punk, and I'm just riffing here, right? MJF.
I think there have only been 5 champions. I think it was Jericho was the inaugural champion. He didn't get beat by Page.
You got beat by Moxley.
What about
He
Lance
got beat
Archer?
by Moxley. Lance Archer was never a champion.
Yeah.
He wasn't the AEW World Champion for a while?
No. He was TNT champion?
TNT, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's when he flipped and busted his neck. I think that feels right. Yeah. But I think
it was Page, because Moxley and Punk both have multiple reigns, and then Adam Page and then Omega is the one we're forgetting.
Okay, there we go.
But I think there have only been that many champions since 2019. There's Jericho, Moxley, Omega, and then there were multiple reigns, but then ultimately Page, CM Punk, and then now MJF, so 6.
Right. So my point is, right? So Page saying that allegedly, supposedly, well, he did say it in an interview, right? So it's not hyperbole. But him saying that, prior to AEW, where did he draw? He was kind of like a mid-card guy in Ring of Honor and also New Japan, right? So for him, he doesn't have the experience of drawing, thousands of people and having long title reigns or, all the metrics.
And television.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Where you have guys like Will Hobbs, FTR, who else can I think of? Ricky Starks to an extent that do listen, right? And these are acts on AEW TV that people like. The Acclaimed, the same thing, right? They've kind of been the light in the darkness of that can be AEW viewership at sometimes, right? Because that's what it is. And again, the recent ratings kind of emote that. But yeah, like you can have a happy median, but taking one side versus the other, I am that line in the sense like I'm not going to, or I listen to myself. Well, you don't have context, or people saying like I go to the Bucks, for advice. For what? I mean, outside of selling T-shirts and producing, vlogs for YouTube, there isn't anything that the Bucks can teach you about drawing money. Because even, their friend Adam Page, he was probably one of the most disappointing champions in AEW history. So,
according to who?
According to Woods.
That'd be me. That'd be me. Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, like I don't think people are tuning out because I'm gonna not watch because people don't listen. I think at the end of the day it all just falls back on the guy running the place. And why is I have a question for you guys. I'm kind of curious what you guys say as an answer. And why is everybody so focused on like, EVP shouldn't be acting this way. EVP's this, EVP's that. What exactly is Kenny Omega and Young Bucks' roles?
Ooh,
founders. They're really just founders. Also,
founders. Jeff Jarrett was a founder, but what's his role? And Impact.
Well, now he's spun out. Now he's
my point is,
now.
being a founder means shit. My point is like, what is the EVP's, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks' role today?
Mm-hmm. That Tony Khan wanted to, in an unprecedented way, give the performers some kind of a public power, a public standing. He wanted to say, hey, I'm cool. I'm these guys' friends. I'm putting them almost on the same level as me. And which, as you're pointing out, is problematic on several levels. And that's the reason why it hasn't been done before. That's the reason why there haven't been wrestlers as EVP. It's the reason why Eric constantly brings up when Rick was the booker and Kevin was the booker and how many issues that brought to everybody, right? Because it does not work to have the performers in any kind of boardroom type corporate role, or even to have that title, because that implies that they are playing a role as EVPs. So you're right, George, from the beginning, naming them as EVPs was problematic. And I think part of that is because being an EVP does come with a certain level of expectations, right? I'm thinking of an example of the Bella twins were executive producers of Total Bellas, meaning they really were in charge of some of the story and some of the things that could and couldn't be said about them. Those EVPs, as you're saying, do not have that kind of power on paper to the network.
Yeah,
I think maybe they do.
Yeah, I mean, I to kind of go on what you're saying and to kind of like add on some more, I think it's just really weird how fans just kind of focus on like, and we saw it a lot last week when they were in Chicago, like, EVP should not acting this way. So many people say that, but I'm like, do you actually know what they do? Because I don't. And I think that like 12, 13, 14 years ago, I guarantee you 1,000% that Triple H, as an active performer, active wrestling in the WWE, had more power than the Young Bucks have in AEW now. So it's like so many people just like to talk and talk and talk. Like, do you actually know what they do? Because I don't. Like, like you said, I think a lot of it is just the name only. It's no different than having an associate producer on a big movie. It's like they're just a glorified PA. I
think I should make two snipes. What the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega allegedly did the night of All Out was unacceptable as a coworker. I think would be a better way to they're executive vice presidents. It was like they're
that's irrelevant. That's like irrelevant. EVPs,
They kicked in the door, instigated a fight, and then came after your dog.
Supposedly.
And also gotta save said dog.
Also, one more quick snipe, Adam. The most underwhelming and disappointing AEW World Champion has to be CM Punk.
Really?
I'm sorry. How bad have the ratings been the last few weeks? Yeah. So far, the least successful AEW World Champion of all time is MJF. Especially after all the hoopla and all the talk and all the promises and the fact that he got a bump and he got handed this because he threw a temper tantrum and he can barely pull 800,000 people to tune into Dynamite with the gold belt in his hand.
Christy, clip this up and tag him. He will get in your mentions. We're starting a Twitter feud right now.
100%.
I want this for you.
Yeah,
because I think you.
I don't know if I want that smoke.
No, I think you can handle this smoke. I think you could build a whole career around this smoke.
I think Adam Page or AEW was a lot better off as Adam Page as champion. Like I said, CM Punk. I mean, I guess it's a little like half right, half wrong as far as like being the worst champion because he never really got an opportunity to show what he can do as champion. So with that, so it's like Andre being champion. It's like we don't know if business was good because he only had it for like 10 minutes.
Okay, quick shout out to Nicholas Blake. He's saying very nice things. Also, his wife Tanya.
Hi, Tanya.
Hi to Tanya.
Hello, everyone. But so I think, and with all due respect, Adam Woods, I think you're just a little bitter that Adam Page has the same name as you. So maybe that's what it is. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Personal feelings aside, it's like we can't just say, "Oh, he's the worst champion" because I don't like him. It's like no, you got to look at the bigger picture, and by all accounts. Christy is 100% right because we haven't really seen, the ratings go up with MJ as champion.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying, but to lead up to whatever MJF is doing on a week to week, and it did hurt that he was off filming a movie, like the follow up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that
people still tuned. A million people still tuned in for the post, so like, I don't think anyone felt strung along. I don't know this, but if we're talking about data. Is this a historically dead time for pro wrestling on TV? November, December. I have no idea. If I had to guess, I'd say a lot of professional sports really heat up at this time. And then a lot of other shows really, like a lot of shows have their mid-season finales that I wouldn't be shocked that this is not a great time for pro wrestling or any non-scripted TV. Like November, December. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure Monday Night Raw and SmackDown have decades of data for us to comb over that somebody could come at me if I'm wrong, but I wouldn't be shocked if 800 is good for December.
Yeah. And by the way, Chrissy, we're going to close up on your hair because there you go. There you go.
I didn't actually love it today, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, everybody's loving it, 100%. No, I'm gonna throw a wild one out here, right?
Ooh.
So obviously, MJF is Lance Von Erich in this biopic.
No, he's not.
Oh, is he not?
Nope.
Who is he?
Okay, wait, it made.
He ain't one of the Von Erichs. No.
Okay, well, okay. So MJF is playing some sort of role in the Von Erich deal, right? Allegedly.
Does anyone else think that he's just maybe a little bit like an extra or something? Like he's going to be somebody's no-name opponent?
I think there has to be something for him to miss his first AEW.
He's the top guy on a show. Yeah. He's the top guy on a show that gets watched by around 800,000 to 1 million people. I don't think he's skipping out on that to be an extra.
Right. 100%.
It might be a cameo.
Yeah, so,
I think it's going to be smaller than we're all anticipating.
So what I kind of draw the lines in AEW and Tyler, or just the way that it's run right now, right? Well, in World Class, right? You had David Von Erich pass away, and I'm thankfully, nobody in AEW has passed away, or what have you. So I'm not trying to make that comparison, but in terms of things that happen. Kind of behind the scenes affecting things that go on when the red light goes on, right? So you had David Von Erich die. Then there's so many Von Erich deaths and whatever. By the time, they get to where they want, TV in Israel, all this stuff and what have you, and introduce Lance Von Erich, the people felt lied to. The people who viewed the product felt lied to and felt there was too much tragedy, too much whatever going on behind the scenes that I can't watch this anymore, right? So with this whole blowout with the Bucks and CM Punk or Thunder Rosa and Jamie Hayter or whoever else, Cody going back to the WWE, where I think AEW has jumped the shark, and I don't want to be, again, Debbie Downer, right? But I think in terms of AEW growth, we've already seen it. right? And that's why, predictions about, AEW not being here in 5 years, there's a lot of different things. Maybe it's Tony's inability to manage, whatever the heck the Bucks are doing, whoever's influencing, the nepotism of Chris Jericho, allegedly, supposedly, streaming deal.
Nepotism.
Well, so there's only one key metric to whether or not AEW will or won't succeed and continue to grow. When it comes times for rights fee, will AOL, Time Warner, HBO, Costco, that conglomerate, will that conglomerate pay the same, less, or more than they've paid since 2019 when it comes time to re-up the rights fee? And most importantly, if they won't, will another company, the one associated with Walmart probably, another corporate conglomerate, will that company pay more or equal to what they're making on TBS? If the answer is low, then they have a problem. If the answer is the same, then it depends on how profitable they're going to be. If the answer is more, everybody's happy. And by everybody, I mean the Khan family, because they're the only people with a vested interest. So we're talking business, like whether or not AEW will or won't exist, it'll continue to hinge on that number and then merch growth and live event growth. And I don't see those numbers tanking.
I hope not, but again, we're heading into, WrestleMania season, right? And a lot of it is happening here in LA, but that's a big time for the WWE. And where the WWE was, a year ago versus where they are going into WrestleMania now, it's a lot better, and AEW doesn't have hey, at least we're not Vince, or, that type of scenario happen where, AEW has to stand alone, and on their morals and metrics for the first time in AEW's, short but entire career, their whole staying power. So I think that's interesting. Now AEW doesn't have the 70-year-old man that's out of touch. Well, he hasn't been here for a while, and you still put the product that you do on TV every week. You introduce a new show, and it's kind of passable viewership, So yeah, that's it. I'm guessing less and profits. I don't know. Maybe Pop TV picks up TNA.
No.
Ouch.
All this is just speculation because those numbers are not public. For all we know, maybe Tony Khan's making freaking $5 million a year in profit. Who knows, But I definitely, like Steve mentioned, the most interesting aspect to look forward to is the TV rights fees. That's how you measure. Same thing with WWE. I'm kind of curious how much they're what's going to happen at the end of their Fox deal. Is it still going to be worth $1 billion for the next 5 years? Who knows? Maybe it's going to be $2 billion. Maybe it's going to be $500 million. There's that's kind of what the main thing we can focus on. And as far as I know, if AEW is making that bank, then let them make that money. But I'm hoping for them that they can still be going on and on for years to come. But obviously, just have a little bit more consistency when it comes to the storylines.
I like that. But this is a holiday episode, right? So, ladies first, we want to talk about all of the great memories that we have of holidays past. And Christy, we'll start off with you. Do you have a favorite holiday memory?
I do have a favorite holiday memory. It kind of involves my favorite holiday gift. So, I'm a fairly materialistic person, and part of the fun, I think, of the holidays is the giving and the getting of gifts. And when I was, I was going to be turning 12. This was many, many moons ago. My family got a computer at Christmas time. It was, my Christmas birthday gift and loaded with internet and the whole thing. And I am really aging myself here, but the premier CD-ROM computer game at the time was the Clueless game. Just like the opening credits, just like that very first scene in the iconic movie of Clueless, where she's rifling through her closet on the computer screen and matching the outfits and the whole thing. You could do this yourself in your home with Cher's wardrobe on your computer, which was huge. Remember back then, by the way. So this was my favorite gift of all time. I played this for years. There were like several games. You could do the closet thing. Yes, look at this, you guys. These were these exact outfits. So I sat all of Christmas break, for weeks and months afterward playing my Clueless CD-ROM game. And that is one of my greatest Christmases of all time. It was the computer and the internet. And if you know me, you know how much I was influenced by all of that. And so I just love the idea that other kids are getting things that are going to shape their whole entire futures. And it may be something as trivial as, the Clueless computer game.
I don't think it's trivial at all. And I mean, how's Stacey Dash doing? No?
It's up and down for Stacey. It's been up and down for Miss Dash.
She looks good. She still looks good in person. I feel like you went through a phase though where you probably wanted everybody to call you Cher.
Did you?
I mean, no, I was a little too old for that kind of role play, but I do remember forcing my friends to do the little hand thing all the time. You know what I mean? And I of course read the books and the whole thing. So yeah, I was trying to be that.
I feel like if you were like, had to do it all over again, you'd become a professional wrestler. I feel like your name would be influenced by a combination of Clueless and Sweet Valley High, like Cher Sweet or something.
She's from the
Valley. She's from the Valley. Miss Cher or Sweet Cher or something,
I do love that, G Herb. Or there might be a little Topanga in there too.
Ooh, also a wrestling fan.
Very influenced.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, shout out to Daniel Official. My goodness, yeah. I guess.
But I can't wait to hear you guys'. Yeah.
So, I've had many a great Christmas, but the one you said, "What's a Christmas gift?" and we're talking about a wrestling show, and the one that jumped out to me almost immediately were. I didn't come from a family of means, because when you think of a wrestling toy and then the wrestling ring, you think of the really big ring and then you think of a bunch of really big wrestling toys. And I was faced with a choice as a child that I could get something like that, but then I would maybe have one wrestling ring and then two big wrestlers. Or they have another product where everything's much smaller, but you could have everything. And I sent Adam a picture, and these are actually really hard to find specifically. Like the one I had, but what they sold was a micro ring. But the ring had a cage, the ring had a bell, the ring had steps, and then it came with 8 wrestlers. So for the price of other things, I was able to get 2 different play sets. I remember specifically I had the dumpster match play set specifically from the Royal Rumble. So it came with a Chainsaw Charlie, a Cactus Jack, a Road Dogg, a Billy Gunn, a Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then I want to say 2 other ones. And what's even cooler is you would just buy more sets. It was kind of Lego style. It was just this really cool thing that I got on Christmas. It's really cool to wake up on Christmas morning and be like, you're into wrestling, and here's a wrestling ring with a bell and steps and 8 guys. And I think I got 2 different play sets. So here's another wrestling ring that I retrofitted the second wrestling ring to be a stage. So,
is that it?
No, I linked it in the private chat.
Yeah, the link didn't go.
Oh, well then.
Mini micro.
Sorry, let me try that one.
There you go.
So it's the King of the Ring one on the right is pretty close to they're the Jack Pacific rings.
Okay.
Actually, I guess that's Sudden Threat. Actually, yeah, it came with Mosh Thrasher. That Sudden Threat mini ring. That's actually the exact one I'm talking about.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Let me get over here.
Steve, do you go and buy these things on eBay now?
No, I do not.
I do that a little bit.
Really?
And
Do you?
I've bought some Barbie cases and a couple things, and they always show up smelling really bad and usually end up in the trash. So that's a bad habit. But I really expected you to say yes.
No, when it comes to memorabilia and toys included, my big specific rule is it needs to be something that somebody I work with that they can sign it and we can sell it. Like I have to be productive.
Oh, that's my face. Ooh.
Look at that.
I don't know if you have. Okay, I was about to tell you what hotkey to push, and I'm like, I don't think he has hotkey. I don't think his hotkeys are the same as yours.
No, I'm manually. But yeah, no, that's amazing. I actually remember the Mosh and Thrasher one. That one. Did they have that at KB Toy Store?
They would have had to have. I think it was a KB Toys. Yep.
Yeah.
With the vinyl, because they had the skirts, but they were vinyl. I had the full size Mosh and Thrasher as well.
Ooh, that I think I bought the Mosh one not too long ago, and I don't like that layout. Yeah, no, but the Headbangers, they were awesome. Like they were one of my favorite tag teams. Like that's amazing. I love it.
Did your mom keep all that stuff somewhere, Steve? Do you know?
She did, and then they all moved to Florida, and then they called me back to Philadelphia, and they were like, "Do what you want, do what you want with it, but it can't stay here." And I think a lot of stuff. I actually sold a lot. I was the king of. It wasn't Facebook Marketplace yet. I think it was 5 Miles or like Let Go or all of them. Honestly, like when I came back to Philadelphia to clean out my childhood bedroom, I was the king of Philadelphia for a moment, specifically on Let Go. Like, yo, this guy's selling this, he's selling that. It's like, yeah, I have enough money to ship 1 box back to Los Angeles.
And well, now someone else is enjoying it.
Exactly.
I like it. George, you got any?
Not really. I can't really remember much stuff that I got as a kid. I mean, I'm sure I got like toys or whatnot, but I don't think there's really anything that really stands out. I mean, I got like this stuffed animal when I was like 3 that I still have. I mean, I was in preschool and like the Santa Claus came and kind of gave me the stuffed animal, and I mean, I still have it. It's still the thing's kind of coming off, the neck area. So I mean, if anyone knows where I can go get it fixed, because I'm not gonna lie, like I'd be really devastated if something happened to that. Like I remember when I had having dogs, I have to make sure that I have it very, very far away from the dog, because if I ever came home and that stuffed animal was torn apart, I'd be devastated. So maybe I'll share a picture on social media, maybe I won't, but so it'd be this dog looking stuffed animal. It's got a little beanie that's like attached to the head, came with a little scarf. It's probably like 32, 33 years old.
Oh, well, I love it.
That's so cute. But you went to quite a few events as a kid, didn't you, George? Did you ever get tickets to like wrestling shows and stuff?
My first event show was in 1996. So I never really went to a wrestling show as a kid. It wasn't until I was like, 12 or 13 when I started going to wrestling shows, but never for the holidays. They were never really here for Christmas time, to be honest with you. Just like, I think just recently, I think 2019, I think they were here for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Forum show with Brock Lesnar.
That was 2015. 2019, they were in Staples Center.
Oh, there you go.
I think Steve was there, right? Steve, you came with, right?
Brock Lesnar, John Cena. Which one was that?
I think it was The Fiend and Daniel Bryan.
Ooh,
that's.
Were you not? Did you not come with me?
I don't think I came with you to that one.
So it was okay. No, it was me.
You guys always go.
I think it was. I think obviously I did ask you, obviously, because I think we went to the SmackDown one, right? Just like a couple months before. The first SmackDown on Fox.
Yes, we went to that one.
We went to that one, but then there was one. It was a house show. On a Monday. It was on a Monday because it was the same day as that Bobby Lashley Lana wedding. That like Liv Morgan came and pretty much said that she was a lesbian or bi, whatever she was.
And then
it was me. I know Flobo was there.
It was me, you, Flobo, Leslie, and then
so
George.
You were there.
Yes. No. This was the house show.
Yeah, the house show.
Yes, the house show.
In December of 2019.
Yes, I was at that. Yes, that was the last wrestling show I was at before COVID. Actually,
and I came with my child. I know that for sure.
Wow, that's a pretty awesome.
Yes, I do remember that. I didn't want to put that out there in case you didn't want it out there.
No, I was trying to figure. I was trying to figure out that you were. First, I was trying to figure out that you were there.
I was at that house show. Yes,
okay,
and then
it was me, you, Flobo, and Leslie, and then I brought my child.
Yes.
So you've given your son a holiday wrestling memory from going to a wrestling show.
Also, I remember another joyous holiday. Go down 2 pictures.
Okay.
This thing was so cool, and they sell it at Walmart still. So now you just pick like from the second picture in the drop down on the left. it was Kinects, which I was a Kinects kid. I wasn't a Lego kid. And it came with a solar panel. So it had a motor and then a solar panel. And the solar panel, you could just like point a light at the solar panel. And then it would get juice from like an actual. It would get juice from the sun, but it could also just get juice from like just a regular light in your house.
I thought you said Jews.
No, I did not. But I remember this was an incredible Christmas gift for me as well. It's out of stock
That looks
on
like
Walmart.
fun.
It's out of stock at Walmart. Well, because like they're showing you they show you the car and then they show you the little guy that you could build. But you really have, because at that point I had like probably 2,000-3,000 pieces of Kinects. So to get a motor and a solar panel, the sky's the limit. Because I had the the giant Ferris wheel, so you could power the giant Ferris wheel with a solar panel.
That's so cool.
99,
and yet it didn't open up the eyes of our generation to solar power.
Didn't open up the right eyes. I don't know.
I used to work at a KB Toys for a couple years, so I did a couple of the Christmas seasons, and I remember I think one year like Furbies were like the greatest thing in the world. They were going for tons of money. I remember. I think like Beanie Babies were like another like hot fad one year.
Tickle Me Elmo.
Yeah,
Remember when that was the one everybody wanted to get their hands on?
That was definitely a thing. Well, mine was this actually. I didn't know I actually had a picture up, but it was a Kettner go-kart. And the story about this, we were still living in San Francisco where I was born, and it was just. It had to be before I had to be about 3. It was before my sister. Maybe my mom was pregnant with my sister, But what I remember is seeing it in a Woolworth, a department store, right? Woolworth. And like wanting it. And my parents are just like, oh, he's like talking and interacting with this thing, right? So, fast forward Christmas morning, and they literally wrapped it. Right, but I mean, it was fully assembled and whatever. Instead of going through the wrapper, knowing how much my parents, even as a toddler, what my parents did to wrap this bloody thing, I was just like, I'm gonna look under the hood and see it. I don't want to mess up the wrapper and whatever. And I almost felt like I don't know if you guys remember, but like Bobby's World, the Howie Mandel, Bobby Jenrick. Right?
Yes.
Well, the opening is him riding around like his whole world in his tricycle. Well, for me, it was the Kettner go-kart. And I used to do skids and circles, and because it had a handbrake that if you pedal really fast and you hit the handbrake, you go flinging around. And I just had that thing everywhere. So that was my favorite. And it's weird because
the gift of freedom as a child.
100%. And I know we got some Christmas memories here. Nicholas Wade says, I was a Hulkamaniac growing up. I went to a WCW night show in Providence, Rhode Island, Providence Civic Center in 2000. My dad got tickets one time to go see the WWF when I was such a WCW fan. I said, I'm not going to the competition. Way to stick it to the man, bro. My brother has an original Furby still in the box. I think that's amazing. And he also says that his favorite Christmas gift when I was 7 years old was a Super Mario,
Super Nintendo
Mario Brothers. I love that. I think I might have had that, but I feel like you had a Furby reference, Steve. Did you?
No, I was just gonna point out that he's really waiting that out. I feel like there's a time to sell a Furby still in the box. And it was 10, maybe 15 years ago. And they're really just waiting. Nah, man, 20, 30, 40 years.
I have one of those Super Nintendo classics.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm still sitting on it as if it's going to be worth like thousands of dollars. It's probably only worth like $100.
Well, I'm waiting for that because we went to the in-laws for the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And my son was gifted a Furby in the box.
Yeah, so, they're not worth nothing. I'm just looking right now. There must just be so many of them out there, huh? They're cute as heck.
Are they? Yeah. They kind of give off the Gremlins vibe. You throw water on them.
Show me yours again, Adam.
It is. Well, it's my son's. It's not mine. So.
Oh yeah, see, that's cute.
Yeah,
Did he want to take it out of the box? Like, did he think it was
He
cool?
just. I hope my in-laws aren't whatever, but he just kind of stuck it under the tree and is hoping that his nephews, the grandbabies, coming to find interest on it. So there you go. Yeah, and it was a regular Nintendo with Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, there you go.
I had that, and then I had the Super Nintendo, and then whatchamacallit, my brother was able to sway the votes in favor of a PS1 over an N64.
Ooh.
He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. And the real thing was that a PS1 had, like, I think I'd be misquoting which Christmas this was, but the Christmas we were heading into, we were going to get one system, and the PS1 had, I think, triple, if not quadruple, the games available compared to the N64. That said, I think we all know the N64 had way more fun games.
That's always kind of been the case as far as like Nintendo. Nintendo's always had funner games.
Nintendo's the Apple, and then
Sony
PS1, Sony's the Android.
Oh. Although, I mean, WCW versus the World was pretty fucking fun. I mean, I know a lot of...
Was that not on the PS1, though? I feel
no, that was PlayStation. How dare you? That was PlayStation 1.
Yeah, PlayStation 1.
Can't you play those old games now?
You can get an emulator now.
You can get an emulator or just play on the regular systems.
I've been meaning to get my hands on a Switch that also has an emulator. If anyone wants to get in my DMs, name a price. Like I haven't had the time to shop, but I wanted to buy a Switch that has emulation all the way up to and including the Wii U.
Ooh, yeah,
and emulate everything because it has the power to do it. I just don't, and I have the technical know-how to make it happen. I just don't have the time. Like, I'll pay big money. I'll pay big money if somebody just straight hacks a Switch.
Yeah,
I've said too much, Adam. You need to close the show.
No. He's paying big money.
I just admitted to willingness to commit a crime, sir.
Nobody's watching anyways.
He's good for it.
I'm just saying. But again, thank you guys all for joining us. Well, thank all of you guys for joining us here. And I'm really grateful. I know it's not Thanksgiving, but the reason why I'm on the After 83 Weeks with you guys is because of you guys. So George Hermoza, Steve Kaufmann, Christy Olson, I am so grateful for you. But I also would be grateful if you guys find or tell people where they can find you. So is George Hermoza, we're going to start off with you.
Thank God for my unavailability about a year ago. Thank God I was working too much, you know. That's it. You can go next. Oh no. You can find me at G Hermoza, GHERMOZA, the wrestling chatter. We kind of, haven't really put many things up, but we're gonna start off with a big DDP bang in 2023 for the wrestling chatter. YouTube.com/the wrestling chatter. Already got a fun interview lined up in February, which should be fun.
Okay. Well, good thing we let you come back then, since you got all the inside scoop.
Do you need DDP's number? Is that what you're trying to allude to?
Oh no.
So okay.
I mean, if you have it, I did want to, I know you've heard my idea for the next series of shows that's going to be on the Wrestling Chatter, but yeah, he'd be a fun one. I got Positively Page that I read, 23 years ago when it came out, 21 years ago, 22, whatever. But yeah, I'll if you have his digits, if you want to, pass along the info. I'll give you an associate producer credit.
Well, shit.
Ooh.
I would like an executive vice president credit.
There we go.
Yeah.
And don't stop me.
Okay, but you have to behave yourself.
Don't stop me if I walk toward your dog.
Yeah, don't be biting anyone.
Too soon.
Oh, I love it. Steve Kaufmann.
I'm Steve Kaufmann. You can find me on Twitter almost exclusively at Steve Kaufmann. That is KAUFMANN. I produce 4 wrestling podcasts. It is Click This with Kevin Nash, To Be the Man with Ric Flair, 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, also Strictly Business with Eric Bischoff. Those are my 4 projects now.
Although you lost one, though.
What did I lose?
Isn't the Regal one going away?
I lost that one before Regal went away, but yes.
Oh. There you go. But, yeah.
Well, those are some of my favorites.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
See?
Those are my absolute
all the good
favorites.
ones.
Right?
I know. Christy, you got some cool stuff even on the TikTok, so where can they find you?
you guys can all hit me up at Christy Reports. Like I said, I am full of the holiday cheer this year. So come and interact with me and let's be cheerful together. I love it.
I love it.
The holiday, of course, being Christy's birthday.
Yes, absolutely.
Get your Christy tree, oh Christy tree.
Yeah. Oh, that's how we're going to end the show. I'm According to Woods. You probably know that if you're watching any one of the streams, but thank you for your subscription, first off. But you can also find According to Woods literally on all the socials, also on bodyslam.net. Where we're simulcasting this very show. Thank you guys for just being awesome throughout this year and the years previous. And I'd like to thank these three people here, as my career would look kind of differently if not for all of you. So thank you. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. If you don't believe me, go ahead and believe Zeta Zang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zang. Make sure you subscribe to